we'll get going.
Yeah, for sure. So welcome, August 12th. Okay, so it's the Annette and Lisa show today. And so you guys know us, Dawn and Valerie are both out. And so we'll be going through this mastermind today. Go ahead and hit the next screen. All right, housekeeping. Lines muted unless you're speaking. Please feel free to share stories, experiences, tips, ask us questions, make recommendations, or tell us what you want to know. I did add a little message in the chat there. It says, hello, everyone. Here is the chat. Just so you know it's there. If you don't want to ask a question, you can ask it in the chat and we'll try to monitor that. And then, so free giveaway. One attendee receives a set of customized leave behind, so done for you with your logo, colors, contact info. We're going to do September. So go ahead and type yes in the chat. I just sent another message in the chat. The only catch is that you must send us photos of you using the leave behinds out in the field. It'd be really nice to see you maybe handing it over to someone and you taking a quick selfie with them, or because you could also double that and use it for your marketing, for your Facebook and things like that. Okay. And I'm seeing some yeses. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So caregiver hiring, selection, and training. So how to find better caregivers, recognize the right fit, and prepare them for real world care. And so the agenda, I wonder if I can make this any larger. So we're going to go through attracting better applicants, of course, making a strong first impression, what to look for in a caregiver, interviewing for more than just experience. We want that heart feel too. Common sense skills, hands-on training stations, maybe in your office or see how you do it. Scenario practice, representing your agency, retention, and caregiver standard. And so Annette's going to go ahead and get started. And again, don't be shy, chime in.
Yep, feel free, ask us questions. We know this is an important topic. Again, hiring is not the finish line. Your goal is not to just simply fill an open shift. You need to find the right people. And we know it's tough sometimes to find those right people. So the goal is to hire people that are dependable, compassionate, coachable, and prepared to represent your agency inside a client's home. A caregiver could look great on paper and still fail in the field because experience is not always equal to good judgment and common sense cannot be assumed. Poor hiring affects clients. Vulnerable clients depend on consistency, safety, and genuine care, not just somebody who shows up. Poor training affects families. Families trust your agency. You made them a promise that you were going to find that right fit and you were going to service them. And when the caregivers are unprepared, that trust erodes very quickly. So
it's hard to get that back.
Yeah, it affects your agency, turnovers, complaints, missed shifts, damaged scheduling, reputation, and long-term retention. So you need to attract the right applicants, identify the right people, and train for real care. Okay?
Definitely.
So attracting better caregiver applicants. When hiring slows down, sometimes agencies often blame the labor market. Sometimes it could just be the ad itself, the way you're advertising for applicants. Most caregiver job postings fail because you don't have the right requirements. You're burying the benefits. They feel transactional rather than inviting. So common reasons applicants don't apply. The headline doesn't connect emotionally. You may not have the pay clear or it's missing. Requirements appear before the benefits. The application process has too many steps. Applicants aren't contacted quickly enough. That's a big thing. No clear call to action. Competitors offer better pay and schedules. So you have to realize that recruiting is also sales. Your agency expects applicants to sell themselves, but you also must make the case for why someone should work for you. Communicate what makes your agency different, what schedules are available, how caregivers are supported, how quickly they can start earning. Moving applicants through the process quickly and complete them with the onboarding as fast as possible while they're still in the office. That's a really big thing. I know, Lisa, you worked in an office hiring the caregivers, but if it's taken a few days for them to hear from you, then you're having them come in for the interview,
or the
Then you're going to get back to them a
orientation.
week later, forget it. You want to get it all done, bing, bang, done, so they don't go to someone else. Lisa, I don't know if you want to share how it worked in
Yeah.
your office.
Yeah, definitely. The idea is to, when you do bring them in, hopefully they can leave with a job, depending on where you are, right? Or with the promise of a job within the next few days. So I think that also moving them through the stages it quickly is important. I know that we use a system here with our CRM that kind of pulls in the applicants and it reminds them and gets them to self-schedule. That type of stuff is going to really help if you can get them to self-schedule for a quick interview. Sorry, the other phone is ringing. Or get them to schedule for an in-person. That's really what you want to do. And you want to do it quickly, because if you have them jumping through a ton of hoops and no result, then they're just going to go to the next agency over.
Yeah. And some language shift when you are placing the ad, replace complete the application and we'll call you with, we're looking for dependable caregivers who care about seniors. Let's talk about what hours and client types would best fit you. We know people aren't coming into this position to be rich. You're looking for people that have a mission, that want to work with seniors, that have that heart. Okay.
Yeah, even that headline could be, want to help seniors age in place safely, happily at home, or something like that. Really playing on that emotional versus want to be a caregiver.
Absolutely. First impression works both ways. So applicants, they evaluate your agency the moment they walk through the door. Just as you're evaluating them, your office, your team, and your process all send a message about what it's like to work for you. Make a good one. I actually have a funny story here. We would have applicants come to our office, and we know first impressions mean a lot. We actually had somebody that applied to be a caregiver, and she came in SpongeBob pajamas. So,
Oh,
needless to say, she was not hired, but you look at the whole picture, just like we're looking at them, how they present themselves. They're looking at you. Is your office organized? Is it a mess? Is the office organized? Does it look professional? Are they greeted warmly when they come in?
yeah.
You know, whether the interview seems rushed or distracted, whether their availability is taken seriously, whether anyone asks what they need from an employer. Questions your agency should ask first is, how many hours do you need a week? This is a good one. And
Yeah.
especially for like home care, we were always really careful. We'd have applicants come in and they would say, we want 40 hours. And in the home care world, it's hard to just guarantee that 40 hours off the bat. So you have to be upfront with them.
Yeah.
We can work towards that 40 hours. We can eventually hopefully get you a client with 40 hours, but you know how clients come and go. If you're losing a client, then they may lose those hours. And we were always really transparent with them, letting them know that we couldn't always guarantee that 40, just depending on it. That's a tough thing. What days and times are they looking for? How far are you willing to travel? The agency I worked with, we had a 15-mile minimum. You guys may have something different, but they had to be able to at least travel 15 miles. What did you have, Lisa? Was it about the same or? Oh,
I think it was really more dependent on, I know there's a magic number for everywhere that you're at, because it's different everywhere. So I think there was maybe a little more, because I don't know how large your territory was. Ours was pretty big in San Diego. And then so I would say 30 miles, but sometimes not every caregiver is going to drive that either. So I'm not really sure exactly where that will fit into everyone's, but I feel like nowadays no one wants to drive past 10 miles. Like everyone wants it
especially
right
real
next
fast.
door. Yeah.
Ask them what type of clients they enjoy working with. Maybe somebody, oh, I have all this experience. I took care of my grandpa that had dementia, or you want to find out what the right fit's going to be. Ask them what skills they want to learn and what would make you stay with an agency long term. These are questions you can ask them.
Yeah.
And again, remembering, do not promise hours or schedules the agency cannot consistently deliver. Sell your company honestly. Over promising leads. Usually if you're telling them, okay, you're going to get 40 hours right off the bat, and then they don't get it, they're going to quit. So you really have to be honest with them when you're doing the interview. Okay.
But
All
you
right.
do want to make sure that they keep good hours with you or they will move.
Absolutely. So what to look for in a caregiver? Skills can be taught. Character is much harder to develop. The best caregiver applicants bring 5 core qualities and set them apart from the start. Heart for the work. Like we said, they're not coming into this position. They're not going to be millionaires. You're not making a ton of money. We always looked for somebody that had a heart for it. They speak respectfully about seniors. They see the client as a whole person. and can explain why this work generally matters to them. I work for a non-medical home care agency, so every state's different. There's some states you can do all hands on. We were strictly
Right.
non-medical companion. So we could hire anybody. We could hire the daughter that took care of her dad for several years that had dementia. So we looked for people that had a heart and really wanted to have a mission for helping seniors. Reliability, that's really big. Arrives on time, communicates early about problems, has dependable transportation, big. We know how that can be with I don't have a car or my car keeps breaking down, and understands that leaving a shift uncovered puts someone at risk. So they need to know that. Judgment, knows when to call the office, follows the care plan, stays within the role, notices when something has changed in the client's condition. These are all important things. They're out in the field. You're not at this client's home every day, so they need to know when they
Yeah.
should call you, when to contact the office. We had a lot of problems with that. We used to have to coach a lot on that.
Yeah. They're
So
the
they,
eyes and ears, and they need to understand that they definitely are. Maybe more care is needed. Like you said, there's a change in condition that needs to be addressed right away. Maybe it's more hours, maybe it's less hours, but definitely communicating emergencies and all of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Communication, they give clear answers, listen actively, accept correction respectfully, and willing to document and ask questions when unsure. And then coachable. You have to have somebody coachable that they're going to be able to accept feedback without defensiveness. You're not blaming them. There's times and many times you have to call the caregiver. Hey, what happened here? Sally fell last night. Why didn't you call the office? The daughter called us and we just found out about this. We know about this. So coaching them when something happens, when the client falls, or maybe even sometimes the clients would just tell our caregivers, hey, we want to switch hours. You have to call the office. We need to know when things are switching.
Yeah.
So they need to know if you're going to be coaching them that they're able to accept without getting defensive. These are all really important things. So it's hard to find a really good caregiver, but once you have them, you want to keep them forever. Okay. Feel
Definitely.
free to write anything in the chat if you guys have any questions. All right. So interviewing for more than the experience. So a structured interview reveals attitude, past behavior, and problem solving, not just employment history. I used to find a lot of caregivers that they were at a lot of multiple places. Sometimes we really didn't take that to word to that. We still wanted to come in and interview. Using these questions together can help you when you're doing the interview. Offer open-ended questions. Understand the person. Why do you want to be a caregiver? Again, find out their mission. You love to hear their stories. We had so many different stories of our caregivers of why. What would a previous client say about you? It'd be nice to hear. What would they say? How would you brighten a client's day? These are good open-ended questions that they can answer. Behavioral questions. Tell me about a mistake you made at work. What happened next? Describe a time you disagreed with a supervisor. Tell me about feedback that was difficult to hear. These are going to help you understand that person. Situational questions. Test real-world judgment. This is really important. Of course, we need to know what is their judgment. A client suddenly doesn't recognize you. What do? What's wrong with you? Why can't you remember me? You're not going to say that. Hey, Sally, it's Annette. It's okay. You forgot my name. But they have to know how to respond. A client offers you a cash tip. How do you respond?
Yeah, that's a big
I
one.
just take that. I just take that cash tip. Kidding. Your relief caregivers are showing up. What do? Oh, I leave. No, you don't leave. You never leave a shift if that next person doesn't show up. No way. We had that happen sometimes, but it was a 24/7 and the caregiver would just leave because the other caregiver didn't show up. And they need to know that they have to stay there till their relief. And sometimes it caused some problems. They needed to get to another job. Maybe we had to rush somebody over there.
They have to pick up their kids. There's so many things. They have an appointment of their own and they want to leave. Yeah.
Strong candidate signs. So they protect the clients first, contacts the office before acting independently, big, admits mistakes honestly, documents what happened. Red flags to watch out for, blames every previous employer, speaks disrespectfully about former clients, would accept money or gifts from clients, and says, I just use common sense without explaining steps. So these are all good questions that you could do when you are interviewing. Okay.
Oh, one thing I used to tell caregivers, if someone asks you money, almost every single time when someone wants to give a cash tip, caregiver will say, oh, I can't accept that. And then they say, I won't say anything. And I would tell them, your response is, would you really want a dishonest person in your home working here and me to just not say anything? So again, I can accept it. Thank you so much. And then I would, if the caregivers let us know, I would let the clients know that you can buy them lunch or whatever, but don't offer them any money. You can get them in serious trouble if you don't tell on them or not. It doesn't matter. So that was one of the things I used to tell them to say. Would you really want a dishonest person in your home if I take this and don't tell my supervisors? And it seemed to be okay. It seemed to work a
We used
little.
to get a policy around holidays, and I don't know if
Yes.
anyone else wants to
Yep.
share, but
Yep.
a lot of the clients would call and say, we want to give Susie, we want to do it, we want to give a gift. So we had a limit. They could do, I don't know, $20 or something, but we gave them permission to get a little gift for the
Yeah.
holidays. Did you do that too, Lisa?
We would have them, yeah, we would have them send it to the office. And when they sent it to and we obviously talked to them all the time. So we knew it was coming. And when it came to the office, we'll go ahead and gift it to that caregiver, but we document it. Yeah.
All right. So common sense skills that cannot be assumed. Again, one of the most important lessons in training is what feels obvious to experienced professionals is not obvious to someone entering the home for the first time. So
Yeah.
arriving for the shift and schedule. So they enter calmly, professionally, wash hands immediately. That's something that we train during onboarding. Review the care plan. Ask about changes from the last shift. Confirm the client is safe before starting. Never add a shift change or change hours directly from the client. The office sets the schedule. That's a big one. And sometimes they really get to know the caregiver really well. And the client's just, I don't want you to come Wednesday, but can you come Thursday? Or they just change things. The office needs to know because, especially if they're adding shifts. So that was something that we used to have to coach on a lot.
Definitely.
Phone use boundary. So not a lot of time nowadays, many of the caregivers are clocking in on their phone. So making sure that you're letting the client know that your caregiver is going to be on their phone clocking in, that they're not sitting there on their phone, but also
Right.
limit personal calls during shifts. No photos of clients at the homes or medications, no social media posts from a client's home. We know how social media is nowadays. They have to get everything approved. No headphones while supervising a client. I've seen that before. Never let a phone call distract from a transfer or bath. We did not allow any use of phones in the client's home other than clocking in or if they had to look at the care plan.
Yeah.
There were times when we walked in and the caregiver was sitting on the couch on their phone. Scan the environment. It's the walkway clear of fallen hazards. Is the client wearing safe footwear? Has the client eaten and had water? Does the client look or act different than usual? Are they able to tell if something's changed? Are the dishes, trash, or spills becoming a concern? And then support independence. All of these clients want to age gracefully at home. A lot of them aren't really happy about having to have somebody at home. Let the client do what they can do safely. Offer choices. Don't be like a dictator. Explain before touching or assisting. And don't talk to them, hey, honey, don't speak to them like a child. They don't want that. And ask before moving anything personal, but you want them to be as independent as possible.
Yep.
And documentation, making sure that they know how important it is to be documenting. Mrs. Smith ate 2 bites of breakfast and said she wasn't hungry is a proper observation. Mrs. Smith is getting sick is a diagnosis, and that's not the caregiver's role to diagnose, but they do need to document.
And some families want even further, like 2 bites of what, right? Of eggs. Or some families want every single thing that happened bulleted. So you just have to know that in the care plan.
Absolutely. All right. So hands-on training stations. In your orientations or your onboarding, I know everybody's we had I think it was like a 6-hour, some people have a couple days. It's important that you do the right training. Hands-on training stations are great. You may have a station 1 where the caregiver is entering the home, washing their hands, care plan review. You may have another station where you're offering standby assistance, safe transfers, gate belts, sit to stand, depending on what you're allowed. Now, here in New York, it's really strict. We couldn't use gate belts. Everybody's different. We couldn't use Hoyer lifts, but whatever you're allowed to do, making sure you're trained that. Personal care and dignity, privacy, warmth, allowing participation. Maybe you're helping somebody in the shower and just ask them, do you want me to hand you the soap or do you need me to help you? Find out what they can do on their own. We always love doing meal preparation. We taught them Some people, we would make sure if we had somebody, a client that wanted meals prepared, that we had somebody that was good at preparing meals. We had some people that were not, and they would let us know. But food safety, again, washing hands. Station 5, dementia communication, related questions, redirection, validating. This is something you get a lot of clients with dementia, so you want to make sure people are trained. Just a side note, if you have a contact your local Alzheimer's Association. They offer free guest speakers. We used to have quarterly in-services with all our caregivers, and we would call the Alzheimer's Association and they would send somebody to speak on dementia. We had a collaboration with a physical therapy office in our area, and we would have a physical therapist come at one of our in-services and talk to the team. So you want to have ongoing training. It was great. They didn't charge anything. We would thank them by sending them a thank you card and maybe like a gift card, but they appreciate it. And the Alzheimer's Association does this for free. I don't know did you connect with them, Lisa? I don't know if in San Diego, if they.
We didn't do that, but we did have Relias training. So we used Relias for the dementia care part. But all of these stations are awesome because I remember, and I think the meal prep was one of my favorites too, because we had a local farmers market that was literally next door to our office. So we would go there, get ingredients, and then we would actually teach how to prep a meal. For though you never know the walks of life that people come from. They may not know how to prepare fresh vegetables, or you never know. You can never assume, right? But I love these stations. We had all of these, and we did have gate belt and transfers to a vehicle and Hoyer lift. And yeah, all of that, transferring from bed to wheelchair to bed, using the walker to get up from the bed and so on. So we did have a lot of that. So I love that this is in here for sure.
We actually even used to take our caregivers out to the parking lot and show how somebody can get in and out of the car. And this is something. You may do this, but this was something that we did. Every caregiver that we hired, we documented what kind of car that they had in their personal file, because if we were transporting one of the clients, we needed to know, was she a tiny little lady? She's not going to be able to get in this big SUV. We needed to know what kind of car the caregiver had before we assigned them to the client. So that's a really important thing, because sometimes these big SUVs, they can't get into their car. And then having a station about reporting and documentation, pretty big. Telling them what they need to report, what they need to document, when they need to call the office. These are all things that they need to be trained on. Some of these caregivers that you hire maybe have never worked in a home care agency, and you need to have ongoing training. Does anybody have any questions? If you guys want to share what you're doing, we'd love to hear, but everybody does something different. I actually talked to one agency. They had a whole week of training. I think we had a 6-hour day and that was it. But we packed in a lot, but we also had ongoing training and quarterly in-services, again, where we had these special speakers and training. Okay.
Yeah. We did 2.5 days. Yeah.
Okay. Ours was short. I don't know why, but so
well, also probably because you said you can't do hands-on care, right?
So that's a lot. Hands-on care. We're just not medical.
Yeah.
Have scenarios when you're doing your training. Scenario like a client is more confused than usual. Keep the client safe. Do not force a transfer. Call the office immediately. Document. Follow emergency procedures as indicated. That was our scheduler was so great when a caregiver would call freaking out. I don't know what to do. She just fell, and she'd be like, okay, let's be calm, making sure that whoever's answering the phone when the situation happens, that you're able to calmly walk the caregiver through whatever it may be.
That's right.
Family asks you to give extra medication. Do not give medication outside the authorized care plan. Calmly explain that the office must be contacted first, and notify your supervisor and document the request. We always had to have the doctor's orders. We couldn't just, unless the family said, oh, it's okay to give the Tylenol, whatever. Scenario 3, a client refuses a shower. This is a really big one. Do not argue or force. Ask why. Offer a different time or alternative. Redirect gently. If the refusal continues or creates a safety concern, notify the office. That's why it's good when you can have somebody that is, especially a lot of the dementia clients refuse showers. I remember we had a guy, he would not take a shower. He was previously he owned a really large business. He used to go to the office all the time. So we use that therapeutic lie and we say, hey, Jim, you got a meeting tomorrow. You really should shower. And he took a
Mhm.
shower. So sometimes you got to use these creative things. And he actually ended up taking a shower.
Yeah, that's so
Our
good.
client care director was really good at that kind of stuff. And she went in there and she said, Jim, you got a big meeting tomorrow. You gotta take that shower. But
Love
if
that.
they're refusing, you don't want to force them. And this is something that happens often.
And you can sometimes push it to a later time. Used to have someone who would always refuse that and or being changed.
Yeah.
And so that why do we have to do it right this second? Do it a little later, try again later.
This is another one. You accidentally break a household item. Oh, I will never forget this. We had this really well-to-do lady. Her home was gorgeous. She had glass everywhere. She wanted a specific caregiver, and we found the perfect caregiver. And I remember it was her first day. And the caregiver called me a couple hours later and she goes, oh my gosh, I opened up the cupboard to get a glass and I broke one of her wine glasses. So these things happen. So if you accidentally break and tell the client, let the agency
Yeah.
know I accidentally broke something, document it, do not hide it, don't replace it secretly. Transparency
Yes.
protects both the client. I remember when one of our caregivers accidentally scratched a coffee table with something. She dropped something. Our owner went and refinished the whole, he was real
Yeah.
handy. He
Nice.
actually took that coffee table home and refinished it. But,
Great.
it happens. Things happen. And then scenario 5, your relief caregiver is late. Do not leave a client alone under no circumstances. I have to get to
Yep.
another shift. I have to get to my other job. Call the office. Then maybe the office
Yeah.
will send somebody else. And you have to continue providing safe care until your relief is come, and follow the agency escalation procedure. But this happens a lot.
It does.
And a lot of these caregivers have other jobs and they have to get somewhere. They need to get to their home to their kids' buses or whatever. Never leaving a client alone.
Yep.
Ruth just said one of my aides got the client's doctor to write a script for a shower 3 times a week for a woman who had
That's
not
great.
showered in over a year, and it worked. Yeah.
I love that. That's such a great idea.
Just like asking the doctor to tell them they can't drive, or that's great. Yeah.
That's
There's so
so
many different
good.
things to do.
I
That's a
love
good one.
that. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
So training caregivers to represent the agency. Again, in-home care, your caregiver is your agency. So families, from the entire impression of your organization, is based on that person that walks through that door every day. They judge your agency on punctuality, appearance, quality of communication, cleanliness, hygiene, level of initiative, attention, how concerns are handled in the moment, and consistency of documentation. Again, if the Sally fell last night and then the daughter calls and you didn't have that document, so very important. Professional
Yeah.
language caregivers should use, say, I want to make sure the office is aware of that. Not the office never tells me nothing. I didn't know that. And you need to make sure they communicate. Caregivers should never criticize the agency or other caregivers, the care plan, the scheduler, the family, or the client, even when they have a legitimate concern. Concerns belong in the office and handled professionally and promptly. Sometimes your caregivers have issues with another caregiver. We know this all happens. Call us. We'll work it out. We used to have some that butt heads, so we had to move them to another client. They were they just didn't get along. So sometimes we had to change the caregiver. So very important. All right. So retention begins during hiring and training. Again, the first 90 days is when most caregivers decide whether they're going to stay. Agencies invest in early, consistent communication and recognition, retain far more of the people they work hard to hire. So day one, introduce the caregiver to a specific office contact. Check in after the first shift. So important. Confirm the client match is working. You need to do an intro when you are starting a new client. Somebody needs to go introduce that client to their caregiver. Somebody in your office should be assigned we used to have our scheduler do it, assigned the next day.
Mhm.
How did that shift go? How are things going? Week 1 through 4, check in weekly, give positive feedback, not only corrections. Ask whether the schedule is meeting their needs. Month 2 or 3, recognize reliability openly, offer additional skills training, address concerns before the caregiver quietly stops accepting shifts. 90 days plus, reinforce performance expectations, continue appreciation, build a career path through skill development and trusted client relationships. We all took turns in our office sending little notes, thank you notes to our caregivers. We had to do a couple a month because your caregivers are out in the field and sometimes they feel like they're alone. They're at a clients that you've had for a while and you're not even checking in. It's really important to give kudos when kudos. We used to do gas cards, Dunkin' Donut cards, little thank you notes. And I think we had to do 3 a month, everyone in our office. So we consistently did kudos and gave appreciation. So they need open communication. They want to have support from the office staff. If they're not being heard, nobody's connecting with them, they're going to probably end up leaving and going somewhere else. You want to nourish them. Lisa, do you have anything to add?
I think that's a very good plan, asking them if they're happy with their hours, are they loving their shifts, and keeping that open communication. Sometimes people just want to they just want to talk about it and then it's done and it's over. And they want to make sure that there's someone to listen to them. And there might not be like a solution. It's just hearing them out and then going, okay, we'll note that. And so I just think keeping that communication open. You always have those caregivers that are better than all the other caregivers in the world, and they want to tell you all about the other caregivers too. So I think just being open to listen and let them get out whatever they need, that really does help them just with communication and just stay
Yeah,
with you when they feel like there's someone that's dedicated to hearing them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the caregiver standard, strong caregiver does not need to know everything on day one. We know that. They must be honest, dependable, respectful, safety minded, and willing to learn. You can train them, recruit with intention, write ads that attract the right people, move quickly, make a strong first impression, interview for character. I use behavioral situational questions, look for judgment, honesty, coachability, not just experience. Train beyond the checklist, use hands-on stations, real scenarios, and observe skill practice before placing them in caregivers' homes. You're not going to put a caregiver that you hired that has no dementia experience in a home
Right.
with somebody who has
Yep.
dementia. And support, check in with them often, recognize good work, address concerns early, give them reasons to stay, hire for heart, integrity, reliability, and then you train for the skill, judgment, consistency, and support them all along the way. I know that the agency I worked for, we really supported our caregivers. It was really important. We checked in with them. If there was an issue, we didn't like if sometimes the caregiver would call, maybe the HR was supposed to call her back and she didn't call back. We made sure that we connected with them. When they're calling you, they're looking for some answers. So making sure that you're connecting with them and supporting them because they're out in the field every day. All right. So that's it for if you guys have any questions, hopefully you got some tips and tricks. Before we go into our fun leave behinds, we have the Go Care Sales Training Program. We have our August and September dates. I know I have some of our class members here. It's once a week for 12 weeks. You're going to increase your referrals. There is a 12-hour video training that goes along with it. If you're interested, let us know. We would love to have you join us. Okay. So it's time for the leave behind.